103.5 Star FM. Start Drive. Start Drive.
His name is Kidi. A brand new banger called this one For Life. Pushing the time to almost over the hour, 3 o'clock. GMT. I'm emphasizing on GMT because of my guest, because she's coming from a different time zone. And my guest is one who's been described as described by friends and people who have worked closely with her and admirers from distances. They all come together to describe her as intellectually curious. And when she walked in, that was clear. It was very, very clear. She was trying to understand everything that was going on here. And quickly was warming into everybody here. So that I believe I am adding to those who say she is that. She's globally minded and deeply committed to advancing knowledge in her field. She's so many things. Going to make this conversation. I wouldn't know where to even be drawing my questions from because she's so many other things. In her free time, Dr. Stagmer, I know she will take me on for that. And she maintains a keen interest in Central Asia, reflecting her passion for understanding diverse cultures and political systems. She's here at perfect timing because Ghana is gearing up for its own major elections as well. We're going to see how it correlates with other elections she's monitored or experienced or even has worked closer with. Well, you can simply say she's a well-rounded academic whose work bridges theory and practice in political sciences. Her expertise in elections forecasting and coupled with her extensive international experience, it positions her as a valuable commentator on global experience, global political trends, and her ability to communicate complex ideas, both academic and public audiences, makes her an ideal candidate for media engagement. And I'm excited. She's not going to be a tight-lipped conversationist. And how are you doing, Mary?
I'm great. I arrived here yesterday, so I'm doing well.
I saw you on television earlier.
Yes, I was on TV this morning.
You're becoming so popular already.
I guess.
But how was your journey here?
It was fantastic. It's my second time coming to Accra. I was here 2 years ago, so I'm excited.
Any changes?
Well, I arrived yesterday, so it's hard to see so many changes, but I'm excited to be back. Met fantastic people last time I was here, enjoyed the food, met a lot of students, so I'm excited to be here.
What is that one phrase you took away the first time you were here? That one phrase. Slang, if you like.
Maybe not slang, but I would describe the country as extremely welcoming. Met lots of students, teachers in high schools, so I very much enjoyed it.
You are a provost for a very important and popular University of Missouri, and also in charge of or works closely with people who want to school from the outside. This means you're well vested in international relations. Tell me, how important is education for those who are outside of America? How important is education in America for them, or having some form of formal education with any university, or we can put University of Missouri into perspective. Of course, you represent that.
Yes.
How important is it for anyone who is not American or not from America, you would want to to study with the University of Missouri?
Yes. So first, maybe I'll tell you a little bit about the University of Missouri.
Right.
So we are the flagship, the main state university, public university in the state of Missouri. Missouri is located right in the center of the United States. And In the United States, it's very important for us to have students from all over the world come and study on our campus. It helps our domestic students, the American students, learn about the world around them, gives them international perspectives in the classroom, but also for international students to come to the United States, whether it's the University of Missouri or other universities, it opens up a whole array of options for them, whether it's opportunities for research, for graduate study, for work in international organizations, or to return back to their home country and work in public policy, work in engineering, agriculture. It opens up so many opportunities, economic opportunities and jobs for students. It's one of the things that our students really excel at. We are an institution that is 185 years old. We were founded in 1839. And that means we have a very strong reputation in the United States. Everybody knows the University of Missouri, and they know we have a very strong educational program and curriculum for our students. For our students earning a bachelor's degree, over 95% of them have a successful career placement within 3 months of graduation. We are so proud of this accomplishment.
What are some of the difficulties, whether it is because of lack of proper information or for some reasons, I don't know, but what are usually some of the challenges of international students once they make the decision to want to come study at the University of Missouri? What are some of the things you clearly see they are lacking, and that's because of misinformation or lack of information? What are some of the petty mistakes international students make when they want to come to University of Missouri?
Yes. So the first mistake maybe happens before students even come to the university, and that is they don't think that it's possible. They don't know how to do the research. They don't know what the educational system is like. So I always encourage international students to be engaged with Education USA. There's an Education USA office here in Accra, one in Kumasi, and they hold different events, but also provide advising for students who want to study in America, whether it's for a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or a PhD program. So it's a really important resource. Then it's questions about money. How can they afford to study in the United States?
Very important.
It is a really important point and a concern for many students, also for American students. So it's important for students to do research on the university's website about the availability of scholarships. So at the University of Missouri, we do have scholarships for international students. They are merit-based, so they go to attract strong, talented, highly motivated students. It's a way for us to bring the best students from around the world to our campus. But if you give me a second, I will also describe how funding works for master's and PhD programs, which are extraordinarily...
Yes. That was going to be my next question.
Great.
You're a mind reader. You're a mind reader too.
Great.
I was going to ask you, for international students especially, because that's where you are in charge you're in charge of international programs at the University of Missouri. Looking at the opportunities, how scanty or how broad, what kind of programs would you advise international students to make priority, especially those who want to stay on and look for work opportunities? Looking at the current state of the economies globally, every economy seems to have a little bit of complaint, especially coming from post-COVID. Even here, we are even affected by Ukraine and Russia war. So looking at all the global happenings, what kind of programs would you strongly advise, not suggest, not force, but advise international students to make priority?
Yes, so I always provide the advice that students should pursue their passion. It's something that you will excel at if you're excited about that field of study. But specifically, we see a lot of international student interest, especially from our students from Ghana. We have 42 students from Ghana, and they are most likely to study in the fields of agriculture, biochemistry, political science, public policy, science fields. We also have a very strong journalism school, as we were discussing before I went on air. It's one of the top journalism schools in the world. It's also the oldest. So that attracts a lot of international students as well. But right now, the big areas that we see are data science, engineering, and from areas in Africa, a lot of interest in the agricultural sector.
Elon Musk is popular here.
Exactly.
Elon Musk is popular here, so
he's inspiring the young people to
Yeah.
pursue technology and engineering fields. Yes.
So these are the areas you would advise strongly, because looking at the job opportunities in the USA, especially, these are some courses you would advise
Yes.
that people, international students or prospective international students, should make priority.
They may consider these. Also, so the United States government has a program for international students that's called OPT,
Okay.
Optional Practical Training, and students are eligible for this once they have completed their degree, like a bachelor's degree or a master's or PhD. Students are eligible for 1 year of work under OPT in the United States after graduation in a profession that is related and tied to what they have studied. But for science, technology, engineering fields, that is actually a 3-year opportunity to work to get work experience in the United States.
What do you also look out for when students begin to apply? When you're there and begin to go through the applications, what are some things you are particular about, so that as they listen, they will know clearly before they even apply. They are well informed. So this is for information purposes. I mean, what are some of the things you look out for that can make someone's chances slim, especially when they are applying? I know from some, it's just about getting into the USA, you know, and all that. And I know you also do your what we call double check and all that. What are some of the documentation mistakes or errors that prospective international students make?
Yes, so it's important for students to have done their research about the university and the particular program that they are interested in. So maybe I'll talk about applications for master's or PhD programs. As students apply, we want to see in their personal statement that they have some experience, have studied this field, that they are really committed to completing the degree at the university. We also look for, have they done their research about the program? Have they looked at the faculty members, the professors who teach in that program? And have they identified 1 or 2 people who they feel inspired by their research, or the professor's research really aligns with that student's interest? That is also something that is helpful for students to address. We do have funding available for master's and PhD students. If they check the box saying that they are interested in funding, there are what are called assistantships available, where you work with a professor 20 hours a week. It pays your tuition, so you don't have to pay tuition, and you get a monthly stipend. So this summer, I had a PhD student from Ghana working with me. I'm a political scientist, and he was helping me with some election-related research. And so he is a great example of an international student, actually one from here in Accra, who applied to the university and was offered an assistantship, and we're really lucky to have him in our political science program.
That's beautiful, very insightful as well. Yeah, you mentioned politics.
Yes.
The reds and blues, the red states, the blue states. How is it shaping up? Kamala Harris, who many will say so lucky, she got the nod, maybe on a silver platter. because Biden is stepping back. And then one you call an old wolf, very wild. Doesn't make too many people happy, but a lot also believe in him. That is former President Trump. I've witnessed a few of the debates. I think one. The rest I've just been following updates. You've been in the field you have been in for this long, observing politics across the globe. Survived a few elections, and Ghana's own also coming up. Let's start from the USA. How is it shaping up?
Yes, so it is.
Apart from the unfortunate incidents of attempted assassinations and all that, how has that changed the dynamics?
Yes, I would say that currently there is a lot of information being shared by both campaigns. We're in the final stretch, right? November 5th is the election. It's coming up very quickly. And both campaigns, the Harris campaign and the Trump campaign, are going full steam ahead, devoting all of their energy to mobilizing voters, to getting people who might not have been watching the campaign very closely to pay attention. They're grabbing their attention and trying to persuade them to turn out to vote and obviously to vote for them. It's right now, according to the polls that I have seen, looks like it will be a very close election. And so both camps are doing all they can to be in the media, to get their message out, holding lots of events. It's what we would hope to see in a democracy, that there is a choice. American voters have a choice between two candidates who hold different views and perspectives, as well as different visions for the direction of our country. And in a democracy, that is what a democracy is about, that we should have people who are presenting different viewpoints and giving voters both information about what they will do, about their platforms, but also the opportunity to choose. I have observed elections in countries where voters only recently have won the right to vote, or only recently have had the opportunity to express a meaningful vote where there are candidates with different opinions. And I think sometimes in established democracies, countries that have been democracies for a longer period of time, people take that privilege, that right, for granted.
Well, we still consider ours a very young democracy. But I have noticed one thing about America's elections. There is, apart from the popular votes by individuals or citizens, there's also the Electoral College.
Yes.
That seems to swing everything. Tell us about it. Ours is direct.
Yes.
It's counted as many of us that went to vote, we counted that way and it's done. I think we only have the special voting for people who will be providing essential services like security and media a week or so ahead or two ahead of the main date. But I realized that you can be excited for your party, red, and then boom, they say the Electoral College has also decided on something different. What are the positives if any African country wants to also emulate the same thing? What does it even mean to have an Electoral College?
That's a great question, and one that I often get when I'm traveling internationally. What is the Electoral College?
Yeah.
So most countries today in a presidential-style election will use a popular vote. But in the United States, when our democracy was founded, there was concern about the popular vote and wanted to ensure that small states, rural areas, also had a voice. And so while all Americans vote, when it comes to the presidential election, on our ballot, it says we are voting for the electors representing our state, who then represent, in this election, it will be Harris or Trump or some other smaller candidates. So the Electoral College, it means that campaigns are focused on winning states. Who wins the popular vote in each state? And ultimately, in the last part of the campaign, candidates will focus on the states where it's neck and neck. It's 50% voting for, say they will vote for Harris, and 50% saying they'll vote for Trump, because winning that state, even by one vote, means they win the electoral college votes from that state.
Even by one vote?
Yes. Yes. And so that is why the campaigns right now are focusing on states like Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a few others that are really tight, because just a few voters can change the result of the electoral college vote in those states. So it's a system that Americans understand because we have grown up on this system, but it does certainly shape how candidates campaign. It means in a big country like the United States, they will end up focusing in this last stretch of the campaign on the states where it's really close. Otherwise, if we had a popular vote, candidates would probably focus only on the large cities. They would spend time in New York City and Chicago and Los Angeles and Miami and Dallas, but they wouldn't pay any attention to the rural areas because just a few voters in that area. So it does shape how campaigns happen.
Very, very interesting. And when it's almost elections and the candidates are doing their rounds, trying to galvanize votes and all that, what does the electorate wants to hear? Here, let me give you an example. The electorate wants to hear about food security. That has every connection with good roads, because the food must come from the food, places we describe as the food baskets. Electorate wants to hear about who is going to stabilize the economy, the good old dollar, who is going to make sure the local currency is doing well against the dollar, for instance. The electorate wants to hear basic things. Who's bringing good healthcare policy? What does the American voter usually want to hear?
In the United States, similar to what you've just described, a lot of it has to do with the state of the economy, about jobs, about inflation, about economic growth. We know as political scientists that oftentimes voters will be thinking about the current government in power and how have they performed the last year or two. Are things going well? Do they want to continue that? Or do they think that the opposing party has a better plan for the future? So, of course, people care about what matters most to them and their family. So if they have job security, a good income, then people may be concerned about social policies, about education for their children, and future opportunities. So it really depends from country to country what the key issues are. But right now, there's a lot of focus in the United States on the economy, on reproductive rights due to recent decisions by the Supreme Court, also on international affairs. So the war in Ukraine, for example, the situation in the Middle East, and the policies that the Democrats and the Republicans are proposing to pursue.
Another critical area is foreign policy, issues of immigration especially, and tell me how that is going to play out on this coming elections, issues of immigration, security, international relations, and then reproductive rights, because it's caught up with Africa. Issues of reproductive rights has caught up with Africa.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been following Ghana's parliament for some time. I hope so. You should know, if you have been following, that we went through a phase. It's not over though. We went through a phase where this whole thing became a conversation. We have people saying, look, let's not allow what they describe as unnatural ways of, reproduction or, sexual behaviors and all that. How telling are these two topics going to be on the upcoming elections in the USFA? Issues of international relations, specifically issues of immigration, and then reproductive rights.
Yeah, so currently I've recently seen some polling data that there is a very large gender gap in support for Harris and support for Trump. That women right now are being mobilized over reproductive rights issues, as well as other women's rights issues. The situation of women in powerful position, the situation of women in society in general and within the family structure. And so it will have an impact on the results of the election. Gender, I would say, currently is not a top topic that's being discussed in the election, but because Harris, if she wins, would be the first female president of the United States, that is this underlying current that is in people's minds. So to the extent that people have strong views on these topics, whether it's immigration, reproductive rights, I would say it's important for people to be discussing perspectives, to also be listening to each other, because sometimes we're talking past each other, but people come to these positions based on their perspectives, their experiences. And if we keep the discussion open and have dialogue and respect, and we're listening to each other, we can find ways to move forward in these areas that respect people's rights, give them the opportunities, but also sort of move the country forward.
Such a diplomatic response. Yeah, she knows it. Dr. Mary Stegma, a distinguished academic, a researcher, so many other things. Like I said, we're having a conversation about international relations, international, students, and with emphasis on University of Missouri, where she is vice provost and also in charge of international programs. It's been beautiful so far. Let's wind down now. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, how well do you know African politics? Or let's say Ghana politics.
I know it just a little bit.
Who are the two top candidates?
Bawumia and Mahama.
Okay, good.
I don't know if I pronounce them correctly. I'm close enough, though.
Perfect.
And as we have driven around a little bit, I have seen advertisements, big billboards, posters for them. So I think it's great. Like, I just arrived and I know, I can see that a vibrant campaign is happening.
What kind of leadership do you think Ghanaians need? By extension, Africa. Mm-hmm. What kind of leaders? Mm-hmm. What qualities of a leader? I mean, do we? Mr. Obama was here when he was in office, and he told our House of Legislature. He told them, Ghana needs strong institutions, not strong men. By on the back of that, what do you also think?
So I think for any country that is a democracy, it is important to have strong institutions. A strong man in charge or a strong person in charge can lead to different forms of corruption and challenges for a society. But I also think that leaders should inspire people the citizens to be engaged in politics, to share their perspectives, to not just vote, but to be active citizens in society. Promoting things like education, because as the society becomes more educated, they have more opportunities. I think also there's an importance to stability in a country, that there is an importance on sort of combating corruption that happens in all different societies, and developing strong relations with neighboring countries, because stronger partnerships improves opportunities for trade, cooperation, and expressing a country's interests more broadly in the region.
I have a question for you from someone who's listening. Nana, Derek says that, how is AI impacting elections in the U.S. with a surge in fake news and misinformation?
Mm-hmm. This is an excellent question. So, in particular, in social media, this has been a challenge, and we don't probably have great ways at this point to try to combat that unless politicians are in the media, the reputable media, are pointing out to citizens, this is what someone has said, but these are the facts in reality. It's important for citizens to be discerning consumers of social media, to be discerning consumers of traditional media, and ask themselves, does that actually make sense to me? Or is someone just saying this and I'm believing them without using some common sense or digging a little bit more deeply into it? There is an important role that voters play. It does take work to live in a democracy, and part of that work is that voters or citizens should be educating themselves, doing some research into the policy areas that they care about, and better understanding or digging more deeply into the policy proposals of politicians. Oftentimes with social media or even campaigns, it's these slogans that capture people's attention. But what's really behind that slogan? What's really behind that memorable sentence or phrase that a politician has said?
Very interesting. We love to do sloganeerism here a lot. You know, it's one area that gets people moving along with the campaign and all of that. Well, very well. A big thank you on that. So, month of October, I think you perfectly chose the right colors. Let me invite you to our 10th anniversary. Tomorrow we're having diplomatic games. Yes. We're doing it with the diplomatic community, and so come meet other diplomats, and Adam should give you the rest of the detail. But you're invited.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
yes,
It
yes.
sounds like a fun event.
It's a fun event. It's going to be a fun event. You meet other embassies and their heads coming to partake in our games. So you are invited.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And before you go, so how do you wind down? Once you're in Ghana, second time, what would you usually do for relaxation? I know you don't have too much time usually when you're here, but
Yes.
how do you try to catch up with time?
What do I enjoy doing when I'm here? So I enjoy Ghanaian food. Last time I was here, my friend Adam took me out to a traditional Ghanaian dinner. So I arrived yesterday. I haven't had a chance yet to have some of the traditional dishes like fufu, for example,
Okay, good.
or banku, and okra dishes and plantains. So
Great.
I look forward to some of that. I will also be joined here tomorrow by a group of university leaders from other universities in the United States,
Wow.
and we will be traveling to Kumasi
Okay.
and Cape Coast as well as here.
Great
We'll be meeting
destinations.
with- yes, absolutely. I have visited Kumasi before, but it will be my first time in Cape Coast, so I'm looking forward to that. And we will be meeting with university leaders in those three locations, as well as university students who are interested in learning about opportunities to study for masters and PhDs in the United States. So for students who are at the local universities, I hope to see some of you early next week.
When are you taking in the next batch of students?
Yes, so we admit students for some programs in January, but otherwise we admit for starting in August, is the start of the academic year, and applications to start in August for graduate programs, if you want to be competitive for assistantships or scholarships, are due around December 1st. It depends upon the particular program, but now is the time to do that research. And if you're interested, so our nickname is Mizzou, M-I-Z-Z-O-U. That's also our cheer. And the Missouri Tigers.
I hope you have a strong
Think of-
football team.
We have a very strong football team. We are 6 wins and 1 loss this year.
wow.
Last year, we ended up number 8 in the United States after winning our bowl game, and we have had a strong season so
Your
far.
colors are yellow and black, I think.
Yes, gold and black.
Gold and black, yeah.
We're the Missouri Tigers, the Mizzou Tigers. And part of that in the United States is universities have colors and a mascot
Yeah.
and athletics because it helps build a sense of community, traditions. So I have attended one of our Mizzou football games this fall. It was a sold-out stadium, 60,000 people cheering, and it was the first home game. We won by a large margin, actually. So it was lots and lots of fun.
What's the most popular cheerleading song for the team?
Yeah, so we have a cheer where we'll do it together.
Okay.
One side of the stadium says M-I-Z, and the other side says Z-O-U.
You.
Okay, so M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
Yay!
Dr. Mary Stegma, Vice Provost for International Programs at the University of Missouri, plus all the other things that she is. I am glad. It's my honor on behalf of the team to say thank you so much. This conversation has been long coming, and I'm glad we did it today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I feel so privileged to be back here in Accra. So thank you. Have a good
Anytime.
weekend, everyone. It's the
Yes.
weekend, yes.
And what song do you know from here?
What song?
Currently part of your playlist. Tell me you have.
I don't know that I have a few.
You do?
Teach me some.
DJ Mono, let's teach her something. What should we teach her? Okay, this is it. It's by a
Great.
gentleman
Thank
known
you
as
so
Stone
much.
Boy.
This was
103.5 Star FM.